after bleeding a 15-point lead away to the LA Clippers.
Past his man, floater is good.
Powell, ball fake, pulls the trigger on a three. Oh, my goodness! He is radioactive! On the flyby, Powell, oh, he does it again!
A showdown that saw Brandon Pajemski, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green get heated.
Bullseye! 111-108! A 17-2 run!
The Warriors came back for redemption against the Utah Jazz. But no redemption is ever complete without your local neighborhood flamethrower.
Klay Thompson, dropping in at three. Klay three, oh man! They're looking for Klay, fly by, another three! Who's hot? Klay Thompson's hot!
32! Hey, what's happening everyone? This is Swish Culture. 2 nights ago, the Golden State Warriors were well on their way to taking out the LA Clippers. With Kawhi Leonard on a lunch break, the Warriors should feast on what otherwise would have been the best team in the Western Conference. But things went for an unfortunate turn. Despite the ejection of head coach Ty Lue, who was livid after the game, and the fouling out of Paul George, the Warriors were unable to keep up with the brilliant torch of Norm Powell, with frustrations from Klay Thompson's ill-advised foul near the end of the fourth sending Steve Kerr to feudal Japan. Something new was on the horizon. Klay Thompson was headed to the bench. You're about to witness the vengeance of Klay Thompson. But before that, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Swish Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get Swish. You would have to go back to the year 2012 when he was in his rookie year to find the last time that Klay Thompson came off the bench. Since then, he'd been averaging between 30 and 35 minutes a game for his career. He was 6th in Rookie of the Year voting after 12.5 points in 24 minutes off the bench, while getting into the starting lineup 29 times, which when you consider they only played 66 games that season, he started in almost half of them. Now you're probably wondering what happened between the Clippers game and the follow-up Jazz game regarding Klay Thompson being put on the bench, because it's obviously a pretty big deal. We all know what's been happening on the court, but how did Steve Kerr manage to convince Klay to come off the bench? Well, here's what happened.
Found out this morning. Me and Steve had a good talk about it. You know, you could do 2 things. You could pout, or you can go out there and respond, and I thought I did the latter very well tonight, especially no turnovers, and missed a few box outs though. But more importantly, I realized I'm going to play a ton of minutes, so you just got to let the ego go when you think of coming off the bench and all that. So, I mean, I thought about Manu Ginobili. That guy has 4 rings and gold medal, and he came off the bench his whole career. And I don't think anyone looks down on his Hall of Fame candidacy. He's one of the greats, and I thought I embraced it before tip. I mean, I deserved it, really. I didn't respond to the not playing at the end of the game well last night. I kind of took it out on the assistant coaches, and I apologized to those guys before the game. And I think that really let my guard down and let me just be myself out there.
Benching Klay has been the biggest move the Warriors have made this entire season, and it seemed to have paid off big time. The plan going forward for the Warriors is to keep him on the bench and see how it impacts the team over a longer period. So, what do we have to look forward to with Klay coming off the bench?
Absolutely nothing different.
Why not? Clearly Steve Kerr is sending a message. And didn't you just see what Klay put up against the Jazz?
Yes, but at the end of the day, this is still Steve Kerr. Klay Thompson clearly said he will still be getting a ton of minutes coming off the bench.
Okay, fair point. But the starting lineup is usually a good indicator of who Steve Kerr trusts. Those are usually the guys he goes with to close the games, right?
Yes, but no. Kerr still does not trust the young guys, and they only get minutes over the vets if they are playing elite. Even then, they still get benched. One mistake, and they're out of the rotation until Steve Kerr has to go back to feudal Japan.
Okay, well, this is still progress to some degree, and I'll take what I can get. Klay's first game off the bench went, well, not how you'd expect. The Warriors went with their highest plus-minus group to start. Curry, Potts, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond. At first, the game started fairly even. Both teams were making shots, and you would think you were walking into just your nightly average NBA game, only there was nothing average about what was about to happen next. The Jazz, seemingly remembering what the Warriors did to them in the last game, all of a sudden hit the Warriors with their own move. A barrage of buckets to put them up by 11, with Wiggins doing all he could to keep the Warriors from going under by 20 points early in the first quarter. Back-to-back threes to help the Dubs dodge glancing blows from the Jazz. With some help from John Collins, rookie Keontae George had begun his onslaught, a deadly foreshadowing of what he had planned for his revenge night against the Warriors. One bad pass from Wiggins and his first quarter career was over as Steve Kerr yanked him out with a little over 4 minutes remaining. The Jazz were about to get the shock of a lifetime. Despite furious and relentless shooting by George, the Warriors responded with their own foreshadowing. Meet Klay Thompson.
Watch out, Klay Thompson.
The Jazz, however, wouldn't relinquish their lead and managed to hold on by just 3 to end the quarter. This was a war. It was but only a few seconds into the second quarter, but the Warriors rookies TJD and Pods took turns in hammering away at the Jazz defense. Pods opened up the floor on a pass from TJD, who then took advantage of his size inside. The young Warriors looked dangerous in the open court, forcing the Jazz to tap out with a clear path foul, handing TJD 2 free throws the Warriors would desperately need later on, and giving the Warriors the lead. Pods continued his assault on Utah, bringing the Warriors up by 4 until his mentor came in to take the reins. The squad vets came in and began to further pulverize Utah. Draymond found his inner Steph Curry, and with a bit of help from Klay, they beat the Jazz into oblivion. 3 after 3 after 3. It was a nightmare for Jazz fans who were watching Keontae George put up his best performance, only to see his phenomenal shooting night appear fruitless in the face of the Golden State Warriors. George fires up and lasers in a 22-footer from downtown to stop the bleeding, leaving the Warriors rookie with no other option. And at the last second, with 0-0 on the clock, Brandon Pajemski bombs the Jazz with a 3-ball that would eat out the hearts of the Jazz players by the end of last night's game. The Jazz finished the first half with 71 points. The Warriors finished the first half with 84 points after putting up 48 in a second quarter outburst.
Everything in the second half was really bad.
Now, I don't exactly agree with Pods here. I think Klay was correct when he said,
Jeez. Dramatic rookie.
It absolutely went down in the third quarter. Jonathan Kuminga began the quarter by trying to come alive offensively. His last 2 games have been less scoring-centric and more revolved around facilitating as well as defensive assignments. He still had a little trouble staying ahead of his man. A 3/4 court lob from Steph Curry, however, led to Kuminga ripping one through the rim on a double pump slam. While Curry wasn't scoring, he did rack up a number of assists throughout. And this one shows that despite what you read about Curry, he's still a point guard who scans the floor and can find his teammates open with elite passing. But it was clear the Warriors were going to need to do something different to pull ahead of the Jazz, who were still intent on making this matchup too close for comfort. It was then it happened. Klay Thompson went berserk. Klay began hitting shot after shot after shot. Grabbed while cutting to the basket? Doesn't matter. He still puts it up with the offhand.
Klay is fouled, lays it in.
Driving into traffic, the bank is open 8 p.m. on a Thursday night. Off the dribble, Steph Curry wasn't doing it, so somebody has to do the dirty work. This was rare form, and Klay Thompson in just 18 minutes channeled Steph Curry to put up 35 points. By the end of the third quarter, the Jazz had scored 101 points, but were nowhere in the vicinity as the Warriors had ran the score up to 120. It seemed the Warriors were home free, but caution says that this team had been blowing leads all season. Could the Warriors really give up a 19-point lead? The size difference between the two teams was never more obvious than in the fourth quarter. The same problem the Warriors faced in the loss against the Clippers showed up again as Kerr tried to close out against the Jazz. This is despite running a TJD and Saric lineup, which was the tallest lineup they could run. But the problem remained that with Saric in the front court, the Warriors would struggle defensively. With the Jazz out-rebounding the Warriors 48-41 and 17-13 in offensive boards, the difference really showed here more than at any other point in the game. The Jazz had 9 offensive rebounds to the Warriors' 3 in just the fourth quarter. The Jazz advanced on the Warriors and cut the lead down to 10. Steve Kerr finally calls a timeout. There was still almost 10 minutes remaining, and with such a small lead and momentum in the opponent's favor, the signs were troubling. Steve Kerr made a shocking 4-person substitution, leaving Pods as the only player left on the floor. Wiggins, Saric, TJD, and Quinones were all taken out. The new lineup of Dre, GP2, Steph, who's been cold, and Klay, who's likely now cold after being sat to start the fourth quarter, proceeded to stabilize the defense. But the offense still struggled and only managed to marginally stay ahead of the Jazz. As they got down the stretch with only a few minutes remaining, the Jazz made one last surge and cut the lead down from 10 points to a single possession and 2 minutes remaining. It seemed all but inevitable that the Warriors would yet again blow another 20-point lead. And then it happened. After a John Collins dunk that brought the Jazz to within a single point, the Jazz were able to get possession down 1 point and a half minute left to go. With the game in the palm of their hands, the Jazz choked. After Markkanen fired up and missed the triple, John Collins grabbed the rebound only to inexplicably throw it into the crowd. This was one of the most anticlimactic endings for the Jazz team. Lucky for Collins, the trade deadline already passed, but I'm sure the front office is happy with the tank job. The Warriors win it, 140-137, despite an off night from Steph Curry. The bright spot tonight, however, is that a second unit bench Klay could be what the team needs this season to make a dream run in the 2024 playoffs. Turn on the flamethrower. Post your thoughts on last night's game in the comments below. But before that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish.